Yes, I'm back, baby. I'm back. Fucking horse beef. Bringing you some more beef for 2025. And I don't even know how to fucking start this thing 'cause it's been so goddamn long. But pretty much all I want to, wish you guys is a happy new year. Hope that 2025 is better than 2024. Assuming 2024 was a shitty year for you, at least as much as it was for me. Lots of bad things happened. Dog passed away. All types of bad shit happened in 2024, to be honest. But I'm optimistic, and here's to a fantastic 2025, right? It can only go up from here. At this point, it can only go up from here. But I'm also hoping for a great 2025 on this channel. But what I wanted to cover today, as you can see on your screen right now, or as you could probably tell from the title as well, however I title this video, is that I believe that Merab disrespect is getting to a point that makes no sense, and it's eerily reminiscent of some disrespect that has taken place quite recently, right? Does this situation, right, saying that Merab is running scared of Umar, does it not remind you of the Ilia Topuria situation, right? That whole build-up right after Max Holloway, delivered one of the nastiest KOs of all time against Justin Gaethje, right? And then the camera pans over to a very likely intoxicated Ilia Topuria. He's acting all awkward and quite frankly looks scared in the moment. Even me, myself, in the moment, thought that Ilia Topuria was scared. Fast forward a few months down the line, and did Ilia Topuria look very scared of Max Holloway to you guys? Did he really? No, because these are professional fighters, and especially in the case of Merab Dvalishvili, man's holding a belt. Why would he be scared of a contender? Doesn't make sense to me, but I'd like to dive a little deeper into that. But before we dive too deeply into it, because I don't even think it's really that deep of a situation, I really think it comes down to Merab Dvalishvili being retarded. And this is coming from somebody who actually respects Merab as a fighter. I respect the man. I just think he's very simple-minded, and simple-minded people don't have much capacity when it comes to abstract thought. So I think that he just looks at the situation extremely black and white, as a simple-minded person would, completely ignoring all the nuances of the situation, like the fact that Umar, yes, he did beat the number 2 or number ranked guy in Corey Sandhagen, but one single ranked win, in my opinion, should not actually earn you a title shot. And the only reason why he was given the number 2 or number ranked guy to begin with was due to his namesake, right? He's a Nurmagomedov, so of course he was going to be given a top ranked fighter after struggling to beat somebody. I mean, I guess yes, he was dominant in the fight against whoever the fuck that was, right? I would have to go look up his name again because it's some crazy Kazakhstani name, right? But that was a guy making his debut on short notice, I believe it was, and he dropped Umar in the first round, and Umar proceeded to lay and prey on him for the remainder of the fight. Yes, he was doing damage and advancing position, all that, so yeah, technically it wasn't lay and prey, I get it, right? But he struggled against someone making their debut in the UFC, and then he was instantly given a top-ranked contender. Does that remind you of somebody? It reminds me a lot of Sean O'Malley, but in fact, Sean O'Malley did more because he actually had a fight against Pedro Munoz. Yes, it ended, and I think it was a no contest, I believe, because of the eye poke, right? He couldn't continue, but at least Sean O'Malley fought a ranked contender before being completely pushed up the rankings to fight against Peter Yan, and then robbed him, by the way, but we won't get too deep into that because I've spoken about that ad nauseum on this fucking channel, and quite frankly, it makes me go mad when I think about that fucking fight, to be honest. But yeah, let's think about it as it is. Merab is a simple-minded person, and he sees it black and white. Merab had to fight champion after champion after champion. In fact, he is on a run right now of 5 champs and former champs in a row, while Umar has not fought or beaten a single one. So in what world is this a lock win for Umar? I'm not quite seeing it myself, because this is quite frankly one of the greatest runs of wins any fighter has ever been on. I get a few of them are a little bit controversial, to say the least, right? His win against Jose Aldo, I believe he lost the first round and ended up just holding Jose Aldo against the fence for 2 straight rounds. So I get we're supposed to hate Merab for that, and I hated Merab for that, and I even hated him for what he did to Peter Yan. And the way I see this fight personally, right? I get it. Umar has some threat on the feet. He's pretty quick, right? He gets those kicks up. The Taekwondo background is very evident in the way that he fights, right? He's dangerous on the feet. I don't think he has that great of hands, to be honest. I think he's very basic on the feet, but he's effective, and I think he definitely has the advantage there. But Merab is being majorly slept on here, as if Umar is some knockout artist. He knocked out Raoni Barcelos. I get it. It was a very sneaky shot, very sneaky left hook, right? But as he said, I believe afterwards, it was his first time ever putting somebody out. He hasn't done it since then. And he hasn't shown to be that dangerous on the feet. I get it. He stood up. He stood up with Corey Sandhagen, who's a great striker in his own right, but he doesn't push the pace. There's no urgency in Corey Sandhagen's style, none at all. And there are certain positions that I think about when I go back and I watch Umar versus Sandhagen, where Sandhagen gets off of his back, gets up to his feet, and you can see Umar at the end of these rounds, right, starting to look a little bit faded after trying to hold down Corey Sandhagen, failing. Those are those moments, right, where Umar is a little bit gassed at the end of these rounds, backing up against the fence. Corey Sandhagen is not pushing the pace. Those are the moments where Merab is going to be on his ass, making him work while he's sucking air. Those are the moments that Merab can actually win this fight. And it's crazy to me to even think about picking Merab in this fight because I don't see him as a very dangerous fighter because he just isn't. There's not a lot of finishing threat in Merab's style. It's all weaponizing cardio. That's really his entire style, but he's made such a great career off of it, and he's done it at such a high level against the best of the best, right? It's not the same situation as Colby Covington, where he's done it against a washed-up Robbie Lawler, or he's done it against fucking RDA, who's fighting in a weight class where he's massively undersized. No, he's done it against, let me just reiterate, Marlon Moraes, before Marlon Moraes was the Marlon Moraes that we know of him now. No, he was one of the most dangerous fighters in the division at that time, right? And I don't know if this is the exact order, but Marlon Moraes, former champ, right? Jose Aldo, former champ, one of the greatest fighters of all time, who has not declined at all at any point in his career, right? Jose Aldo has always been elite, right? Peter Yan, one of the greatest fighters of all time, right? The best, most skilled fighter of all time, in my opinion. And he did that to him too. Now, it's a CGI win, of course, but I digress. I see him having a hard time the same way that Sean O'Malley had a hard time. Now, this is a much different fight. Of course, Umar will be able to scramble at a much higher level with Merab. In fact, I think Merab will have a hard time getting Umar to the ground. I think he will. And if this fight is resigned to some kind of a stand-up battle, which some people might think, you look at Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman those two times, or how they're wrestling, cancel one another out, so they end up just having a stand-up fight. It's not the case with these two, right? You have two combat sambo masters of sport. No, they will mix in the grappling instinctively. They will not cancel each other out. This will be a great fight. And if Merab wins this fight and the disrespect continues, listen, there will be no words left to even describe it. I understand Merab is a very easy guy to root against. I get it, right? I mean, he got that bullshit fake CGI win against Peter Yan, right? So I'm supposed to hate the dude. But then he also goes and takes out one of my least favorite fighters and dominates them and babies them, and Sean O'Malley. Oh, and then you got the O'Malley fans. Oh no, he landed a knee in this round. He landed one single left hand in this round. It was a close fight. Nah, you're a fucking nerd. Sean O'Malley got dog walked. He got dog walked. It was very easy, and Merab looked playful the whole time. And leading up to that fight, he was pretty emotional. Like leading up to all of his fights, man, Merab is usually a pretty emotional guy because he's dumb. He doesn't know how to handle his emotions. But when you get in there, it's a different ball game. Plus, I'm gonna take something from Demetrius Johnson, right? He's a bit of a nerd, so he likes to talk about the void, right? The space in between. Merab is one of the best fighters in the UFC with that little space, right? He's constantly feinting in and out, constantly giving his opponents shit to worry about. Now, of course, in the case of Marlon Moraes, right? Marlon Moraes, Henry Cejudo, they all found something similar, right? They all found that left hook, right? But Sean O'Malley couldn't find it. So clearly Merab has done something in his game to adjust to that. I think those spaces in between, like the overloading of data, he did that to Peter Yan. Like Peter Yan is someone who's able to download data. Merab Dvalishvili rendered him like fucking Windows XP. If you were on the internet back then, if you're as old as I am, you may have had an experience with Windows XP. He was on like Windows 17, and Merab downgraded him all the way down to like Windows XP or some shit because suddenly he wasn't able to download shit because of the overload of data. And Merab is just one of those fighters who's able to do that, right? He's a bit of an anomaly. He's almost like a DDP, Goofy Goober type of fighter that you can't really put your finger on, but he keeps winning. He keeps picking up wins. And I don't think this is like such a cut and dry win for Umar. I think Umar is underestimating him just like all of Merab's opponents have underestimated him. And of course, the MMA gurus of the world will point to the fact that Merab lost to fucking Frankie Sands and Ricky Simone, as if John Jones didn't lose via brutal TKO, by breaking his elbow on the face of Matt Hamill, right? Of course, that didn't happen, right? Or GSP didn't lose to Matt Serra, right? And then go on to be the greatest fighter of all time, surely, right? Or fucking Islam Makhachev, he didn't get knocked out by Adriano Martins at one point and then go on to become, again, one of the greatest fighters of all time. Of course not. Of course he didn't, right? So let's hold that over his head for the rest of his career because Merab at one point lost to Frankie Sands. Therefore, he does not deserve any respect, and we shall underestimate him for the rest of time.
Do you think at any point in the next 4 weeks you will be concerned that he will pull out?
I will not surprise it. And nobody will surprise it.
Now, I will say right now, as much as it is pretty ironic to hear Umar talking about pulling out of fights, considering he's pulled out of I think 4 or 5 fights on his own accord. He's had a lot of canceled bouts, but make no mistake, they're not all due to him pulling out. Right, his opponents have pulled out at times. Umar has pulled out of many fights. Merab, to my knowledge, never pulled out of a fight. So this narrative that he'll pull out of a fight because he's scared, this and that, and I know this interview was re-uploaded recently, but the original cut had a different section of the interview. I believe they cut out a part where Umar gets into detail about a potential injury that he has, right? And there is some speculation going on that maybe Umar and Ali Abdelaziz and his team has maybe baited Merab into accepting this fight by putting it out there that he may have an injury, right? And maybe he doesn't have an injury. Listen, I'm not too sure on the specifics of things, but behind the scenes, it looks like there is some fuckery going on. There has been some fuckery, maybe from Umar's team. And if it is the case, if it is the case that it took Merab thinking that Umar had an injury for him to accept the fight, if that is reality, then of course it looks bad on Merab as a champion. It really does. And also, I have to give Umar credit because he does actually acknowledge the fact that Merab's never pulled out before, right? So I have to give him respect for that. I don't think Umar is a super disrespectful fighter. He really isn't. I think, honestly, Merab has blown the disrespect aspect of it way out of proportion. And it's just gotten him so needlessly emotional. And it looks bad on his part. It does. For a champion to have such little emotional control. But as I said, he's just a simple-minded person. And I think people need to just see it as simply as Merab himself would see it. That he's just retarded. And that's all. He's just simply retarded. And I think that helps him. That's to his benefit, really, when it comes to his fighting style, because you have to be a little bit insane. You have to be a little bit off your rocker to fight the way Merab does, right? Just bouncing up and down constantly, zero regard for anything, just head first into everything, and seeing how it goes. Energizer Bunny type shit. You have to be a bit of a dumbass for that to work. You have to not really consider danger in the same way that somebody with abstract thought would consider danger. So, in my opinion, Merab's retardation really goes a long way into making him one of the best fighters in the world. This will be a very, very tough fight either way. I will make another video really giving my in-depth breakdown of this card. So this isn't really a video to go and make my predictions. I just want to point out the level of disrespect that Merab's been receiving and how I believe it's very, very overblown, especially if you're paying attention like the UFC or MMA Reddit space, because Reddit seems to be completely populated by Khabib Nurmagomedov or just Nurmagomedov dick riders, almost exclusively, to the point where if you say one thing negative about Khabib, you and your entire family will be threatened as a result. I feel like it's just a little bit ridiculous. It's blown out of proportion. Just because his name is Nurmagomedov does not mean that he's going to go out there and beat Merab and make it look easy against everybody. No, I just think that the bantamweight division is so talent-rich that it's tough to beat anybody in the bantamweight division. And I just feel like even if he does get through Merab, he has to deal with such a stylistic nightmare in Peter Yan, really. And that's not the Peter Yan fan in me saying that. That's just the logical side of me saying it, man. If you understand the way that the way that Umar fights, the way that Peter Yan fights, Merab is always going to be a bad matchup for Peter, but Umar is not. Umar is not. Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, man, this fight's coming up soon. As I said, I will get more in-depth on the fight itself coming up pretty soon. As of right now, I think that Merab as an underdog is an extremely, extremely enticing play, although I'm not a gambler and I don't condone gambling in the slightest, but if you were to gamble, dude, I feel like Merab being as heavily as an underdog as he is, not only is it disrespectful, but it may spell some potential for gains, right? If you were to bet on this fight. Although, as I said, not condoning anything, but that does conclude my thoughts. Everybody, as said, I've returned to YouTube. I will be uploading content far more consistently. It's been about 2 weeks since I uploaded last. I just wanted to enjoy the holidays with my friends, family, and really just recharge. And I feel like I've been able to do that effectively. And I'm looking forward, man. I'm looking forward to this channel and how we grow, hopefully going into 2025. And as always, guys, I appreciate it. I appreciated all of your support all throughout 2024. Seriously, you guys, just simply by watching my videos, engaging, and all that good stuff, you've significantly improved my 2024 as a whole. And so I appreciate you all greatly for it. And anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.